Well, looks like I'm live. I've just gone live. I'm not dead yet. Decided to do another stream for a couple of reasons. Firstly, because I got a new microphone, because the last one, the audio was so terrible, I finally decided to get into the 21st century and get this, which is off Amazon. It's actually pretty good. It's a Tonor, and you get a whole kit. You get the mic, you get the stand, which clamps to the desk, you get a pop shield, you get one of those spit shields as well. With a bit of experimenting, the major problem I've got is echoey walls, so that's why I sound a bit echoey. And if I come away from the mic, you can still hear me, but I get quite echoey, so I'm leaning at it like a 1970s crooner or whatever. But here I am. The other reason is a bit silly. This beard, I've been growing it because it's the thing to do. We're all Edwardian gentlemen at the moment. You know, we all very fine-looking gentlemen with our beards. Like, you know, I've got enough tash to do that and all sorts. But the past week or so, I've been getting heartily sick of it. I look about 92. Well, a lady, the checkout girl in the supermarket asked me if I was over 60 so I could get their over 60s bonus. Now, I'm not over 60, and it was funny. I mean, I'm not offended, but I sort of felt a bit, oh God, you know, do I really look like that? And let's be honest, if you walk around with a beard like this, you do look like that, you know. You look like you ought to be sitting in a bath chair with your granddaughter pushing you along on the promenade. So, I mean, being bald already, it's bad enough, but I've decided growing more this much hair out your chin doesn't compensate for being a slaphead. So, sod it. I think I'm going to shave it off. Well, not all of it, because I always have a beard, but I normally had a more restrained beard, which you may be able to see on earlier memorable videos, like Ian talks about politics and nobody cares, and that sort of thing. So that, and I got this proper condenser microphone. I'd already got the interface. I've got a Behringer UMC 404 HD, which has like 4 inputs. You can put 4 mics in it. It's a really good interface. 4 line outs and 4 line ins and stuff, and phantom power. So that wasn't a problem. And I'd already been, I mean, I have this old dynamic mic. Where's it gone? Oh, it's over there. Let's go and get it. I'll be right back. There we go. That's my figure. So I got, mirror image. Why can't I handle that? I look in mirrors every day. There we go. This is a Shure. They were the Shure Prologue range in the 80s, which were cheap, which is why I bought it. And it's actually, I mean, like any mic, it's more what you do with it. And I can't sing anyway, so I only growled into it. And it's sort of, it does have a bit of a clean up needed on aisle 3 type ambiance to it. But, you know, well, hey. But it's not really very good for talking into like this, you know. I mean, the pickup pattern is such that you go here and you can't hear anything anymore. And it's not the greatest mic. I did have another much better one, and that got stolen along with most of the rest of my gear in the 90s. Which, I mean, Jesus Christ, what decade is this? We're in the 2020s, and I'm finally upgrading that I should have done in the 90s. But, you know, that's life. And when you're old, that is life, isn't it? So, I wonder if anyone's watching. I don't know. I think I have to look on YouTube to see that, don't I? There goes. I can't see my display now. Let's go to the stream. I'll be right back with you in a minute. your channel. What's happening on my channel? So now that was me listening to myself. No, nobody's watching. Well, I shall be in a second, but you know, oh, there's my browser window. Deary me. Okay. So up in the right-hand corner here, as displayed by my mouse, this is the synth I've been working on. I've made some progress since the last stream, not just in getting a new microphone. You can see here, what am I doing? I'm twiddling with the bloody window, not the... right. Right. I was looking at the playback, God help me. So you can see here, I've made some improvements, and it's now at the stage where it can go beta. First thing is it saves patches. It's still a bit limited. It only saves them to the local storage, or like the Microsoft Windows app storage. It doesn't actually, it doesn't export yet. But you can save. I actually set a limit at 32. I don't know why. That was a mistake. I'll change that. But let's have a look. You see, we've now got 2 tabs up here. That's exciting, isn't it? Modern interface. You can add 2 MIDI inputs to it. This means you can play it with a keyboard, and you can go away. Sorry. And you can also you could add something else in here, like a controller, because it receives control change commands for every parameter, so you can fiddle with them live using hardware knobs if you've got a hardware knob type thing. This is the output window. This chooses which sound it's going out to. As you can see, I've got too many outputs on this computer and it all gets terribly confusing. Even the crappy Realtek thing on the motherboard, which I never use for anything. And voice meter and all sorts. So that's that works. That tells you what the buffer size is. I've been using the Windows the Windows Audiograph API, which I'm going to move away from because it's a bit limited. And you can't manage the buffers directly, which can cause some clickety clackety. But we're there at the moment, and these bits, actually, I don't think I said this last time, that actually shows which oscillators are in play at the moment, are actually being used. That's the queue of oscillators. You can't see my finger. This is the queue of oscillators which are waiting, and this is the queue of oscillators which are active. So you can see that's oscillator 6 is now playing, and you can have up to 16 voices, which is more fingers than I've got. And my keyboard only does 8, but it's useful for long. No, my keyboard does 10. It's a Roland thing from 20 years ago. I found out the hard way. You can only hold 10 keys down at the time. So if you lean your arm on it for the full Monty, you get something a bit disappointing. Anyway, so that's that. It's got a patch thing now, as I said, and you can reset the patches if you want to. These patches are just things I liked, and some of them are a bit similar and whatever, but you know, first go for a first run, they're okay. And the default patch is pretty basic, but then sorry, I was just distracted by that error message coming up in the playback on YouTube, which is way behind me now. I've got to focus in. They're pretty simple. You can delete a patch. You can add a patch, which will just add whatever is currently set up here in the window, and in the parameters, and then you can update that by hitting store and reload the factory patches. I've already found that I need an "Are you sure" on the store button because I keep hitting it by accident and ruining everything. So I'll just run through what the controls do again. These are the waveform controls. Now what they do is that if you start off imagining you have a sine wave like this, which is technically an inverted cosine wave, but we won't worry about that because Casio never did, and they invented this type of synthesis. You can change it by, in this case, if you shorten this ramp here, you start approaching a square wave, and then if you shorten the other ramp, you get a square wave like that, which sounds like this. Very square wavy. And then if you shorten that, you get a pulse wave like this, which is the great thing about this is, although it's a digital synthesis method, it has very clear analogs. It's not like with Yamaha's FM, where although it could produce some, well, not some people like the sounds, I didn't, but it had nothing to do with sound waves as people understood it, because it was a completely different method of synthesis. This, which Casio invented, phase distortion, you can sort of visualize it a lot easier. So then they put in, and I've not copied, I've been inspired by having something akin to an analog filter. And how this works is it makes the phase again closer to the cosine wave the more you filter it. So if you do this, look at the green thing here. As you do this, it gradually turns back into the cosine wave. So you've got, let's put it on drone and you can hear this. You see, that's the cosine wave. This is just the same as a sine wave upside down. And then you get the harmonics coming in like that, which is awesome. And you can make different waves like this. Now, the other thing I've put in since the last time is a noise modulator, and I don't know how Casio did their noise. I've looked at the patent, but it's not in there, and disassembling the ROM is like something of a nightmare, and probably doesn't tell you anyway, because the LSI chips do that. So, but it sounds something like this. I don't know how this is going to sound actually, but let's give it a go. And the nice thing about it is that it's that doesn't sound very good. Let's go up a bit. There we go. Low noise is of course very rumbly, but so it produces a noise with a pitch, and that pitch is variable, and it means you can sort of do I've got a dodgy key on my keyboard. So it produces a noise with a bandwidth. Get my hands in shot, with like a bandwidth and a center pitch rather than just pure white noise, which it takes a bit of tuning for a particular sound you want, but it's actually quite good. So next thing, the other thing, of course, filters have traditionally on analog synthesizers is resonance. And my implementation is I think, a lot more flexible than Casio's, because what they did, what I've done is what they did was gave you a fixed extra frequency put in there, which varied with the filter, whereas on mine it's completely variable. So let's have a listen. I can't remember which patch it is. I think it's that one. Oh, that's an exciting one, isn't it? It's not that one, definitely. No, it's actually technically a form of syncing, but let's not worry about that now. As you can hear, it's got a lot of what old-fashioned resonance does. Not that one. And the other thing we've got is a ring modulator. Like that, which makes some really nice noises. These are, by the way, the factory patches as they stand at the moment. And finally, you've got a modulator which can do vibrato, which is pitch mod, obviously, and tremolo, which is volume mod, and phase, which is the equivalent of filter modulation. The other thing it does is you can change the filter's resonant sine wave for a square wave, or anything in between, which also produces some interesting effects. And the damp, which, how do I explain this? The damp control takes, if you imagine the resonant high pitch having a constant pitch, what this does is every time the main wave cycles round, it starts off at the frequency of the main wave, and then the pitch increases until it hits the resonance frequency. So that produces more harmonics and a more sort of rounded sound. Ooh. Like that. And yes, there are little crackles coming off the damp because I need to interpolate, and I haven't done it yet. What else? There's 3 oscillators which can be in unison, or let's get rid of that phase mod here. Like that, or you can spread them like that, which gives you some very traditional synth sounds, I think. And I feel like I've got a quite, it does sound quite rounded. There's also an echo effect, which is a bit crap. Well, it's all right, but it's not exactly, you know, going to set the world afire. And you can drop line 2, that's oscillator 2. In the phase distortion terminology, they're called lines for no reason whatsoever. You can drop that an octave. And a high cut control, that's literally just a tone, a cut of the high frequencies, which started off, it's actually the anti-aliasing filter. But it means you can you can deaden, oh, that coffee. You can deaden the sound, and it also it doesn't also do anything. You can deaden the sound. That's it, Ian. Okay. Like that. Or you can have it completely off. It's quite useful for using with the noise, actually. It tends to bring it under control a bit. Because the noise can get a bit spiky at high frequencies, like there's a bit of a sizzling bacon sound to it. As you can hear there. So let's actually look at some of the patches. Well, patch A happens to be a noise patch. And you can actually hear as the filter closes, it starts to produce a pitch at the end of the note. Like that. But you can tame that, hopefully. If the release is a lot longer, it's not going to get down there. But if you do that, you can, again, get some interesting effects. Or you can do that. So you start off with noise, and then you end up with a frequency. So that's the noise. This is my. I really like this pad, and as you can see, he says pointing at the screen that you can't see. As you can see, this is a very basic square wave that it starts off with, but square waves are, they were good enough for your granddad, which is me. So let's try it. Kind of like that. I think that's a good result. What else have we got in here? I mean, the thing about most patches is they don't sound that great on their own, because obviously they need to fit into music. Like one guitar on its own can sound quite good. I'd better not follow that line further. But this is a more mellow pad. I'm getting a bit of glitching here. I think it's because its OBS isn't quite picking it up properly or something. Sorry about that. What have we got here? I mean, I'm quite into. I mean, the reason I'm doing a phase distortion synth is because I'm into older stuff, but I think there's some hints of sort of Jean-Michel Jarre, not jar of peanut butter. I mean, Jean-Michel Jarre, in what you can do. A bit of a string synth thing and some spooky cosmic noises. Well, that's with the portamento on. I do want to add, by the way, there's no other effects on this. This is just, all the sounds it makes direct. That's something you might want repeating. I'm looking for something. No, that's not it. As you can tell, I quite like pads. This is the modulator re-triggering. You can also change the shape of the modulator when it re-triggers. So let's put that on. Let's put that on drone. I need to move this drone button, don't I? So you can do that. So you can make it go ding, 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 like this. Or you can make it go the other way. Like that. Which is nice. You can also make it go faster. Slower. And all sorts of crazy stuff like that. How long have I been streaming for? I don't know. I started streaming 27 minutes ago, apparently. Okay, well, let's stop that anyway. Now, as you can see, these patches aren't changed until you hit the store thing up there. That's what we started with on patch 12. And I hope this shows actually it's quite easy to fiddle with. I mean, a lot of the problem with the digital synths in the 80s, including the Casios, was they had those terrible parameter entry interfaces. And the Casio engine doesn't really operate in real time. You can't change the patch while you're playing. If you do, it resets the sound. And if you look at the patent, I actually have the patent. No, I'm not going to show that because I've got the window all made small and it won't make any sense. That made no sense either. Ignore what I just said for the past 20 seconds. I think they were really limited on what they could do. Well, they were. I mean, they had slow CPUs and it all had to be done in hardware. I mean, that's the amazing thing. I'm sitting here writing it now in Visual Studio on a PC. It was just physically impossible, and you couldn't do that. So if you look at the patent for phase distortion, it's all about hardware multipliers and dividers and how to use them efficiently to walk through a massive wavetable of I think it's 2K, it's 2048 samples, which that's for one quadrant, so it's like 8K, effectively 8K of samples total for the sine wave. I'm using 384K, which is probably a bit of overkill, but I just wanted it really, I didn't want to worry about accuracy. There's no point when you've got a computer with gigabytes on it. Who cares about less than half a meg these days? Nobody. So, so they couldn't really make the engine interactive. It's you set up a sound and then you play it, and there's no way to adjust the sound during playback. It will cut the oscillator off. It will start again. Whereas now we can have that. So I wanted to make this quite interactive, you know. So one thing is I've given it simpler ADSR envelopes, at least for now. The next version, the PD20 or PD100 or something, I might have larger multi-stage envelopes. But ADSR was good enough for your grandfather. And because you can just fiddle with all the modulation and everything while you're playing it. You know, you can make the lines louder and quieter, and fiddle with the phase control while you're playing it. You can use external knobs, as I said, to do that. So it's quite it's a lot more intuitive than using a 80s digital synth ever was, where you had to type in a number and see how that sounded and went, oh no, another one, -1. +1. We used to spend weeks doing that. We used to just sit there going, shall I add another one? Why not? I'll add another one. I'll add another one. No, I didn't like adding that one. You know, I mean, it was horrible. I think the worst synthesizer experience I ever had was a Korg DW something. 6000 DW something, which I didn't like it at all. I borrowed it, so it's not very kind saying this. You know, I borrowed this thing off my friend and then didn't like it. Oh dear. But I didn't. It was all a bit plasticky for a start, and the parameters didn't seem to be very fine-tunable. I'm sure somebody would say that the DW6000 or whatever, 3000, 5000, 9000 were epic, but I couldn't get on with it, and I never used it as a MIDI controller. Yeah, but they were very sterile instruments. They were no fun to play with, and I loved analog. I was singing the praises of analog when everyone was going through that horrible phase of saying, no, you don't want that. You want to get a DX7, you know? No, play that electric piano, the DX7 electric piano. So getting back to the point, having an interactive interface on this was pretty important to me. Let's listen to a couple more patches. What's this one? Oh, it's another sweep pad. Oh dear. I seem to have been a bit one-track mind here. Oh, I had set up that I mean, let's face it, we're so spoiled these days. When I started with synths in the early 80s, and I had a few people like this, I had a Gen SX1000, which had one oscillator. It was a DCO, it had one oscillator. It was actually, I mean, they've got a bit of retro charm these days, but being able to do all this polysynth stuff now would be, you know, I would have believed I'd died and gone to heaven. Being able to do that just by hitting one key, I mean, crikey. That's something. That's the noisy one. Oh, this one's quite. It's not meant to be anything in particular, but I've grown quite fond of it because it's a bit sort of jazzy. Well, not jazzy, but a bit electric piano-y, a bit. So you can like. Anyone names that tune can have a free kiss from a bearded old man. But it is quite sort of, you know, like we can also. Muff that up a bit, but you know, name that tune. It's a weird thing, actually. My favourite Led Zeppelin song is a piano song. There you go. I'll give them no quarter. What else we got? I mean, that's a very straightforward 80s pad. Haha. Four's the bells. Three's quite a rough one. Which might be useful for the more sort of grim ambient wandering around the back rooms liminal people. That's my favourite pad again. I mean, that's a pretty good bottom end. This is. And number one's sort of a bit less like that, but it's sort of like that. So that's all the all the basic. Oh, naught. We've forgotten 0. I think that does actually illustrate something a bit interesting about this form of synthesis, which there's no actual ring modulation in this, but it sounds a bit like it, you know? It's got a bit of that vibe. So because the frequencies are actually completely unrelated, it's the resonance, so-called resonance frequency, the harmonic here is just whatever you want. So it's set as a multiplier of the degree of phase distortion, but you can change it to any multiplier you like, up to, that's 32 times. And, you know, go lower and lower. So until it's just basically, you know, like a boost to the fundamental. So, yeah, I'm running out of things to say. And I've been going for 40 minutes anyway. And nobody's joined us because I do not have a big channel and it's Sunday evening and I don't know, people are doing whatever they do on Sunday evenings. I don't know what people do on Sunday evenings these days. When I was a kid, on Sunday evenings, people used to have to sit in the living room with Gran while she watched Songs of Praise or Stars on Sunday, which were very boring. But nowadays, I don't know what they do, twerk or something. So anyway, they're not here watching with me, with Mother. So I think I'll end it there. But it's given, that's, I think, a bit of a better rundown of the synth. And if you are interested in giving it a test before I release it properly, there's an email address in the description for this video. Drop me a line. Let's have that patch one more time, shall we? I do like it.